Okay, we have an incredible session coming up with three of my favorite people for two very different reasons. So first, I want to invite up Craig and Ann Schneider. They're going to come up, and we're going to have a bit of a conversation, somewhat presentation, somewhat conversation, about the reality that brand identity does, in fact, matter. We'll talk about why I stated it that way, but Craig and Ann, y'all come on up. They're from Rochester, New York. Y'all have spent a lot of time with Craig, maybe not quite so much time with Ann, and she deserves a lot of the credit for what they do, making things beautiful and compelling, building culture, having impact in their marketplace, and so we're going to get to talk a lot about that. And then I'm super excited. I saw Bonnie walk in. There she is over there. Another one of my favorite people on the planet, Bonnie Curry, legendary radio talent, not just here in Dallas, but especially here in Dallas. How many years on KLTY? 24? Something like 24, maybe exactly 24. You take any chair you like, young lady. Can we get a couple more microphones? And then we will get going. Now, she's the afternoon drive time. People say DJ. What do you like? Talent? Queen? Princess? DJ on, am I accurate to say the largest Christian music station on the planet?
On the planet.
On the planet.
In the world.
I don't know about all the other
Nobody
planets,
bigger
but
than
on
us.
this one, it's the biggest. And Bonnie's been doing it forever and has incredible relationship with the audience. And that's why I wanted her on this panel. So I'm going to hand it off and let them do the vast majority of the speaking, but I do want to set the stage a little bit. See what I did there? Set the stage a little bit and make it clear as to why these are the people on this stage to have this conversation. So I have had the opportunity to walk with and watch Norchar, which Craig told you yesterday is named after their daughters, Nora and Charlotte. So Norchar. And watch it impact the lives of team members, staff, and their community. And they do this part. They do branding and what that means to them really, really, really well. And then Bonnie has the opportunity to represent brands and watch brands attempt to reach the marketplace and build that relationship and have impact. And she sees some succeed and some not succeed. And she actually gets to help me do that as well. So a couple of different perspectives on the idea. So let me start with you two and just lob you a softball and kind of let you do whatever you want to do. But let me start by just asking, what does brand even mean to you two? How do you think about what you're doing when you're building this brand identity, brand relationship? We'll get it.
Hello.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Mic 1 is not on. So, I mean, from our very beginning, we had to kind of shift gears because when we first started our brokerage, we thought we were just going to be kind of me selling and her supporting us. And things changed very quickly when people came and wanted to be on our team. And therefore, we had to kind of rein things in and build a brand identity so everybody was in the same step. When it's just you personally running your own brokerage, it's a little easier because you can just make decisions on the fly. But when you have a whole team of people that you're trying to get in step, you need to have some identity or some focus of where you want to be. And it started off with me just not knowing much about what branding was and going in and doing some research and learning that. And the first thing is you learn that branding is from actual cattle branding. That's where that comes from, so that people could identify what was theirs, what was their cattle, and as those cattle or whatever it was were out in the fields, you knew who owned what cattle. So that's where branding comes from. And the other thing I took away from that is it needs to be very consistent, so much that the feel and everything kind of works together and builds off of each other versus playing against each other. And I see this all the time in a lot of brands where they want to be several different things, and especially in real estate, because you'll hear someone say, I want to be a luxury real estate agent, but they won't look the part. If you want to be a luxury real estate agent, you should buy a bunch of luxury brand magazines and go to luxury stores and go to a luxury car dealer and see what their branding looks like and feels like and how the people in those luxury communities dress and who they talk to and what country clubs they belong to and what kind of cars they drive and all of that stuff, because all of that is tied back to your brand identity. And that includes, if you take all those magazines and you put them all together, you're going to start seeing a consistency in the type of fonts, the type of papers they use for their magazines, the type of finishes, the colors they use, and all of that kind of comes together. So it's important to take the time. And I'm not saying luxury is right. I mean, we are not a luxury brand. We sell luxury homes. We're not going to say no to it. However, we don't brand ourselves as the luxury home or a luxury home seller in our market. Even though I'd probably sell more luxury than anybody. But,
That's true.
But the reality is that
You do, in fact, sell the most luxury homes in your entire market,
I do,
Craig.
yeah.
Yeah, just wanted to be clear about that.
But that's not our brand, and I really, honestly don't, is this being recorded? I actually don't enjoy working with the luxury buyer. That's not the people I have the most energy with. I like the first-time home buyer, the people that have, that you're changing their life. The luxury buyer, it's almost like you feel like you're forcing them to buy a house, and they're disappointed at the end. It's just like, okay, I'm not excited about this. But anyway, so when we built our brand, we tried to make it more family-friendly, family-forward, a little looser, a little quirky, I guess we could say is the word. And that's kind of our brand, and we stick behind it. But it also comes, there's so many other pieces that play into it. And especially with social media nowadays, people, when they look your company up, the first place they go is to social, and they start just riffing through your feed. And they just want to get a feeling. I mean, any of you that have a Facebook account for yourself, for your personal brand, or for your company, you should go there and just rip through your photos or look at all your photos and see, does that represent who I want to be? Is that the look I want to be? And some of it's strategic. You have to take time. You also have to take time to get photos. It's often we have an awesome event where we have a lot of energy or a lot of people around, and at the end, no one got a single photo. I think some of the best we had this luau once that one of the agents just took interest in taking tons of photos. We probably had the most content ever off of that one event. So make sure that you pre-plan and go into it so you have the media that you can use. But also, you have to be intentional about thinking about what you want your culture to be. And we'll talk more about that. I don't want to completely railroad this.
No, that's a good pause point, because I do want to come back, and I'll give you something to think about before we come back. And we definitely want to hear from you, Ian. What are those feelings and things? You just used words like quirky, family, fun. What are those things you've chosen to identify your brand with? But before we do that, again, big broad softball, feel free to take the lead here. What does branding mean to you, and how do you see it, and what does it reflect in the marketplace about a company?
That's relatively wide. I feel like that is a great big ball. Look, in terms of what I do for a living, there's the public me, which is the me you're seeing right now. I'm actually wearing makeup. Very excited for you guys to experience that this morning. Then there is the, at home me, which is not looking like this. I'll tell you that much. It's more along the lines of who you are in the public. Because branding cannot be who you are personally at home all the time. None of us can be perfect out there. That's why so many companies, I think, struggle with branding, because externally you have this, we're family friendly, bada, and then behind the scenes you're not matching that. You're not putting that out there. I think the most successful branding that's out there are companies that are both publicly, this is who we are, and then behind the scenes are actually backing it up. I'm not talking with perfection, but with intention. And I'm going to use Todd as a good example. I sent him a note, a couple of days ago, and it happened to be our morning show guy that works on the station, and he did a spot that made me so happy and so proud, because he talked about who Todd is as a person, that he is walking his faith, that he is a person that really does put God first in a lot of what he does. Now, on our station, that makes sense, but it's a risk for this man, because what he's saying about Todd is one of those things where if we didn't know him personally and didn't know who he is behind the scenes, we would never do that. How many times do you hear about a company that's family owned and operated and faith-based, and you look at what they're doing and you go, not so much. Not so much. Like, that is not jiving with that image. For us, we know this man, and so we can confidently say this is his walk. We don't say he's perfect, because he's not, by the way. I can tell you that unequivocally.
I didn't know you were going to say either side of that thing, and I wouldn't have approved either one, just to be clear.
So it's more along the lines of, can you put out an image as a company, as a professional, that you can also back up as much as you possibly can behind the scenes? I think the most successful branding comes from that. For good example, Motel 6. We're going to leave the light on. They didn't go on and on about the fact that, are they the most luxurious? No. They didn't go on and on about the fact that, we have all these amenities. No. It's pretty much, is it dark outside? Do you feel like you need to come inside? We're going to leave the light on. And that was Motel 6. It was a huge success because they didn't try to be something that they're not. And go figure, it did gangbusters for them, because then they got that wonderful voiceover guy that is like, we'll leave the light on. And it felt like a hug. It felt like, look, if you're out there and you see our light, come inside. There's a room here for you. Is it going to be luxurious? No. Is it going to be clean? Is it going to be safe? Yes, and that's the brand they needed to match. Good on Stan Richards, and then he later kind of went south on that. But that was good branding. That's a whole different story. It's like, you did it really well, and then, oh no, you didn't do so well. And that's actually another good example of branding that was exceptional coming out, and then behind the scenes, less so. So I think the most successful brands are going to be those people that are able to successfully navigate who you are, i.e., if you're a luxury brand, he's right. You're going to want to make sure you're matching that both behind the scenes and in front of everybody. But if you're more somebody that is all about, I'm your hometown realtor, I know this area, I live this area, I work this area, make sure you're passionate about the city that you're representing. If you're going to be doing stuff on social media, yes, show the homes. I love that. But more importantly, what if it's you in front of this great local restaurant and you're saying, do you know what I love about living in Columbia? I love the fact that there's so many great locally owned and operated businesses, like this wonderful restaurant. Give a little vibe for that. People are going to see that and go, she really does love this place. She really does know our city. That's successful branding.
One quick question, and then I want to kind of reset us a little bit with my personal opinion on branding, and I'll be short. And the question is this: do you think you can be successful branding yourself or your business, whatever your chosen brand is, to everyone?
No.
I would say no, not genuinely, no.
Yeah. Now, that's a loose transition into a key point I want to make. If you've been around me speaking, teaching, coaching in any way for a long time, I have said we don't do branding. I don't recommend doing branding. Now, I've had a little bit of a change of heart over the years, but not much. So where I would clarify that is we do as much branding as we can on the back of direct response marketing, on the back of impact, on the back of highly effective things. And here's what I mean by that. If you define branding my way, think Coca-Cola. Trillion-dollar company or whatever, multi-billion-dollar company, and almost every city in the world, they've got blanket signage of a red background with white font that literally just says Coca-Cola. No value proposition, no offer, no call to action, no phone number, no link. There's not even anyone there in town that would sell you Coca-Cola. You got to go to the distributor or a retail outlet or whatever. We are not doing that. None of us have a business of the scale, unless someone's like holding out on something really incredible. None of us have a business where you just blanket brand things, where you can afford to spend massive money for someone just to associate with your brand image. That, for most, if not all of us, is wildly dangerous expenditure of time, energy, and money. That type of branding, local, small businesses, in almost every scenario should not be doing. But do we want to build brand identity, brand trust, relationship, affinity, connection, personality, fun, quirkiness, whatever your thing is, with your target audience? Of course you do. And over the years, we've gotten better and better and better at that, learning from people like Bonnie, watching people like Craig and Ann, and many others of you. And so I want to clarify that distinction, that your brand identity does matter. But you're going to spend a lot of time, energy, and money with little to no ROI if you're exclusively focused on brand without value, without delivery, without intelligent marketing, with calls to action, with unique value propositions, with differentiators and the ability to back that up, and I could go on and on and on and on and on. So, key point, branding is essential. I mean, you could live without it, but it's a lot harder. But be careful not to fall in love with the graphic design element of your business and forget to build a system and a structure and an effort that delivers on the ground value to the client. Because there's a lot of companies that have been backed by a tremendous amount of venture capital, got a cool domain name, and went for brand. No one even knew what they did. Have you ever seen a commercial on TV? It's like a 30-second commercial, 29 and a half seconds in, you're like, I don't even know what they do. And then at the end, it's like, bloop, boop, gone. You're like, what was it? What did they, can you imagine? Like during the Super Bowl, I see some of these and you're like, oh man, I don't wish anyone any harm, but I hope that guy just got fired. You know, like I hope he finds another job not in marketing or advertising, but what were they doing? So we just can't be those people. Okay, now coming back to you two, what are the things you want your brand to represent and what are you doing to do that? Feel free to take some time. I'll jump in and make sure there's key takeaways if needed.
I'm going to let Annie take this because as everybody who's met her, they all like her better. So we're going to let her run with this, and she's
It's not that we don't like you.
well, you like me less.
It's a package
after
deal.
you meet
No,
Annie.
we are fine with that. We are fine. We work very, very well together, obviously. I think for us, what we take away from branding is, we built our brand literally from the ground up out of our garage. True story. And, you heard that, we were planning on doing this by ourselves, and it was all of a sudden like, oh, we hustled to build something that was going to be sustainable, something that we were going to be proud of, and something that would attract other agents who wanted to be on our team, and be proud to put our sign in front of people's houses. Part of what I do is, I'm more like, it's weird to say like internal branding, but no one really knows me outside of my company on purpose, because my job is actually to promote the brand and to promote Craig and the agents within who work at our brokerage. So I very much stay in the background and push everyone forward as part of my internal branding, and I create an atmosphere and a culture at our brokerage where I create the social media, I create the company culture and things that we do to keep us on point, but also, which he mentioned, like probably me, quirkiness of like weird things that we do that people enjoy. Per se, our Instagram, I'm very conscious when I
Where
post
can people
it.
go right now just to see your Instagram?
We're North Shore Real Estate on Instagram.
NORCHAR Real Estate.
North Shore Real Estate. So I'm very intentional on my Instagram stories is where I'm promoting our houses. I'm promoting all of our real estate that our agents selling. I make templates and I throw them up every time someone's got something going on, open house, for sale, just listed, closed. But on our posts, and I make a lot of reels, it's actually our agents and our company culture. And I didn't realize, I did early on that, we're a lot of fun. And I try to promote that as our brand, that we are a fun company that you want to work for and work with as customers. And I realized more people were coming up, when we were hiring agents and interviewing people, like, how did you find out about us? I went to your Instagram. You guys have a lot of fun. I was like, oh.
So
God.
let me jump in on that for a second.
Yeah.
If you're seeing it right now, you understand what she's saying. If not, you really should check it out. If you're not on Instagram, we'll give you some other places you can see them. But can you talk about some of the things where you are modeling fun with your team for the world to see that are A, just great fun, but B, double up as great marketing?
Double up as great marketing. We do something we call North Shore Fridays, which once every month, every Friday, we invite other agents to come to our brokerage. We play cornhole, we grill hot dogs, we're outside throwing things around, and just like we have our brokerage is on Park Avenue in Rochester. It's a lot of traffic, a lot of cool boutiques, a lot of cool things going on that street. So it's a point in like what would you say that area is just, a destination for Rochester?
Yeah, it's like a historic area that
Historic.
everybody comes down to go to
And
weird stores
we
and
actually
stuff like
have
that.
a really cool house. So we, our brokerage is in that we actually use for a lot of our marketing as well. So we do things like that. We do like internal marketing. I started something really weird, but my agents love it, called Snack of the Month, where I will make a flyer, and it's really goofy, and I'll take like their agent photo and just cut their face off and like put it on like a lion or something like that. And then our snack of the month is like some weird fruit or something like that. But it's just like that weird stuff. Agents every month are like, oh, who's going to be on the snack of the month?
Let me
and
just
stuff like
say,
that.
weird's the word you're using. Different is the
There you go.
strategy, right? The strategy is not like every other real estate team. And what she's saying is when
Absolutely not.
not just clients, but other agents, when
Yes.
she says, how did you hear about us? They're like, you guys are super fun. I'm seeing you on social media. So they are using the word quirky and weird. Raise your hand if you feel like you know Craig and Ann really well, or you're in the coaching group and you've gotten to know them deeply. What word would y'all use for them? Focused? What about cool? That's what everybody else, man, they're so cool, right? Like they're the cool kids at high school, but we're grown-ups and they're still cool, and some of us aren't. But the reality is that's the vibe. It's a cool house in a cool part of town with a cool Instagram account. They're doing, games out in the yard and grilling out and poker tournaments. I don't want to share all of it. And then the cool thing that y'all do for agents when they have their first sale, like there's a bunch of cool stuff. So go ahead.
That is really cool. I apologize. I want to say that thank you, Tom, for bringing it, because we actually do a lot of cool things. Every time I forget, because we do
It's
so
more
many cool
fun to
things.
say than weird, right?
Yeah, it
Okay,
is.
go
Thank
ahead.
you. I apologize. We are pretty cool, I guess, but it's weird saying that. How's that?
There's the weird.
We do something really fun. Our agents, when they get their first sale, whether it's a buy or they sell a listing, we give them a pair of green Chucks, and we make a
Chuck Taylor Converse shoes.
Converse shoes, and we make a really big deal about it in our office. I come out with the shoes held up like Lion King. I sing for "He's a Jolly Good Fellow" and everything else, and we make a big deal, and we all clap, and we make this agent feel amazing. And we take photos, we put it on social, and we tag them, call them Rockstar Agent and everything else. And it's true, it's a huge deal. We all know it's a huge deal when you make your first sale. And we celebrate it, and we post about it. And it's something that we started, and no other brokerage was doing something like that. So people appreciate that we celebrate our agents so much.
I'm going to jump in because I
please, yeah.
want to pour towards her. I feel strongly y'all just need to clone this woman for a couple of reasons. It was something that you said, and it's also something that you said. Everybody knows what they do. Everybody's got their place, but I want to focus in on what she is doing. They have a person there that understands that she is pushing people forward. She is not pulling the attention to herself. And again, as the agents that are out there being represented, she knows who she has to push forward, and she's made it a goal to push those people forward, to make it fun for them, to create an atmosphere that's different and quirky and amazing. That takes a very unique person, somebody who's actually willing to take that back seat so that other people can be successful. I can't stress this enough. Having somebody like that isn't just critical, it could be the difference of you being successful and not being successful. Finding people like that, it's hard. Obviously, he hooked her up and got her home. So that's
Recruited
awesome.
it early. That's
Right,
how you
good news
that
on
works.
that.
Yeah.
Good news on that. But I will say that when I'm listening to what she's doing, I see so many different marketing and different deployments of campaigns and things and social media. Everybody's looking for the viral videos and all this other stuff. Quietly, but with intention, she has been pushing out multiple things that create a fun place. Obviously, she's putting the listings out. Obviously, she's pushing her realtors out and going, look at how great they are. Look at how fun they are. And obviously, she's got a great sense of humor and a wicked sense of fun. That, to me, is almost more important than almost anything that has been shared so far, is that finding somebody like that that is willing to try different things, that's willing to kind of put something out there to break the mold a little bit. I mean, I feel like round of applause. This is a very rare and unique animal, and it really should be studied under glass and just
Wow.
really check. No, but
Wow.
Lion
She
King
is
is what
really
I
she
an
meant.
do.
animal.
I recognize that so
Wow.
oftentimes where I'm going,
Hello.
right there, that is a critical component.
Let
And if
me-
you can find somebody like that, do
Let
it.
me say this. The fear there is some people just shut down and said, well, I don't have that person. I don't have a big team or staff. Now, you also don't have Craig's beard, but there's some things that we can do, okay? So maybe that's third-party help. That's maybe you just modeling the behavior and those patterns and getting to that point. Maybe it's part-time. Maybe it's an intern. Phoenix the intern, everybody. Phoenix the
Give it up for
intern.
Phoenix. But it could be them. They could
It
be that
definitely
person.
can
It
be. That's
definitely
the
can
point.
be. I'm just saying, she's amazing, but you could also go, I could do that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be double duty. You're obviously covering a lot of stuff. But if you're a person that's willing to take some chances, try some risks, make it fun, make it interesting, I'm going to check out your Instagram page. Like, I'm going, I want to see what you guys are doing. That's amazing.
So I think, Todd, it goes back to what you said. You have to slow down and think about where you want to go. You can't just start designing stuff and going 20 different directions. And you have to be very, very intentional about where you want to go. But the most important part, I think, is listening to your audience of clients and agents and other people around you. And that's how we've identified some of these really awesome things, is just by, hearing, hey, it would be cool if we had this, and then, actually listening versus being like, yeah, okay, and moving on. So we're always looking for, cool things to do. And, but also pay attention across other industries. I mean, that's where the best ideas are. From, if you're watching other real estate agents and trying to copy everything they're doing, it's already being done. But watch other industries. Look at what they're doing that they're having success with, and then reapply it into our industry. And that's where we see some of the coolest stuff. I know you've gotten a few ideas, but also, challenge your team to build the culture that they want to live in. And that's what we've done. And one way that I heard culture being identified the best, because I really never understood what it was, is I was at a seminar. It wasn't one of yours, Todd, to believe it or not. But and a guy got up there and he started talking about culture. And he was a baseball player. He tried to make it in the pros. He never did. He played for minor leagues. But he said, he went to this minor league team, and he got there the first day, and the coach walks up, and just everybody started running, like around the field. And he got about halfway around the field. He started running too. And he got about halfway around the field with the guy in front of me. He goes, why are we all running? He goes, I don't know. He goes, first day I started 2 years ago, everybody just started running, so I just started following them. And I started running too. And, that is how you truly identify culture is, does everybody just know what to do? And do they all do it the same way? And that culture can be built. And a small example of this is, as Todd's color, well, is your color changing? Because it used to be red.
This is the event color. Robert told me this is the event color.
Okay.
I said, yes, sir.
I've never seen you in anything but red, so I'm questioning that. But anyway,
You want to give me some active feedback right here in front of everybody, or you want to talk about that later?
we can talk about it offline. But
We'll do it off- yeah,
I'm
we'll do it-
worried about you.
We'll do it
Ready.
offline.
But
I'm not the one that got called an animal up here. Just
you are not.
sideshow Todd.
That is true. But our company color is green, and so much so that it's just North Shore green. And so we had a brand new agent start right before we came to this conference, and we were just trying to fill some time. And I go, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, or tell the team about yourself? And I said, what's your favorite color? And it wasn't even related to that. And he said red, and everybody's like, not anymore. And and it was so funny that the team brought that up and we didn't. And it's just great walk away. And there was another example of that recently. Do you remember?
Let me, while you're thinking of that, you're talking about branding. You're talking about culture. Let's connect culture and branding here really quickly, because they're not always connected. In a lot of scenarios, culture is internal and branding is external. But when you do what Bonnie was talking about and you authentically back up and live out who you are, then they really start to merge. They don't have to be completely overlap. There is internal in-house stuff only, family business, the way we prospect, the way we do meetings, and when we have how we do meals, whatever. But there's also a lot of sharing who you are internally, externally with the world, so the world wants to get on the inside. They want to work with or for you, or they want to hire you, or they want to be a vendor of yours, or they just have affinity. When you hear me talk about building ACE, authority, celebrity, and expertise, celebrity is not Kardashian celebrity. Do not recommend. Celebrity is being a person that people want to be associated with. Like, oh yeah, I know Craig. He's amazing. No, we've hung out a few times. Like, I want you to know that I know him, so you'll think about me sort of like you think about him. That's what we mean by celebrity. And when your brand and your culture at least bridge that gap and merge a bit, then they are oftentimes the same thing. And that's why culture is relevant to the brand conversation. Does that make sense? I just wanted to clarify that because in certain conversations, those are two wildly different things.
Yeah, and here's another example of that, and this is the other thing I was thinking about, is I'm very strict with what we allow to go up on MLS when it comes to photos and stuff. Like, so much so that it's almost embarrassing around our office. And so if someone was to bring an iPhone and take photos, I don't care if it's a $2,000 listing, basically you're fired. We also have like a known thing, if you ever post something that with a bed not made, just turn in your license. But what's happened over the years is, this has become part of our culture, and the agents know they're even more picky than I am at this point, which is great because that's what I wanted within our culture. And at some point, we didn't even make the channel, but someone on our Slack channel made an unprofessional listing photos like Slack channel, and the agents have like so much fun in there because if they see something, they'll post it on there and they'll just all start ripping it apart. And it's, and though it's all in good fun and that's what the energy's coming from, it's also a good training for a new agent to be able to see like, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable to our culture and who we are and how we represent each other. Because when you are falling under a brand, and that's the reason we decided to go independent, we didn't want somebody within a brokerage to do something that wasn't in line with our character. So we designed our own. So,
very cool. Go
I
ahead.
would just say to delve into that culture and branding, and for us, it's also like experience. Like when you see our brands, you expect a certain experience. In that, we also do like people already know. Like Craig and I do like van life things as well. We're trying to do like our kids are older and do some cool stuff like that. But we go to a lot of travel a lot. We go to Harvest Host is one of these things. If you've ever heard, it's really cool. Check it out. And we stay at breweries or wineries. And that, when Craig was saying you look elsewhere for inspiration, don't look at other real estate companies in your area. I always look at like some of these new breweries and wineries, and these guys are fighting the big brands, and they're fighting each other for your attention. And I appreciate their hustle as a real estate company because that's what we kind of do. We're fighting in the, like not fighting, but you're in a marketplace that's saturated. Get people to look at you. I go to these places, am I having a good experience? Do I have people into my office or agents or customers? Are they having this great experience? Am I offering them beverages when they walk in the door? Of course we are. Are we greeting everyone and making a big deal about everyone they come in the door? Yes, because I like that when I walk into a place. So that's how, I have that very much in the back of my head is my brand is an experience when someone walks through the doors in our building.
Now, and you need to point out a few things here. Craig and Ann are not traveling the country in a minivan. This is like the adventure glory wagon of incredibleness, okay? So you got to go follow them on Instagram. What's the account you want them to go?
YouTube. We have a YouTube. It's called Van Life Mates. It's just a riff on van life, and then life mates, which we've
Van
been
Life
together
Mates
since we were
on YouTube. You'll see this incredible van that they often drive down. Last year, brought it here.
We slept in the parking
They come
lot.
down to our office for coaching stuff and see it. It's very, very cool. But the point is they're modeling a lifestyle that other people also want to live. This life of adventure and uniqueness and fun and cool. Do you want to work with those people, or the super annoying realtor that's always shoving their business card in your hand? Easy choice, right? Now, by the way, if your answer was, I want to go with that one, they're thrilled that you self-selected out of their world, right? They're not mad at you or think you're horrible. They will think your photos are horrible, and they'll talk about it on their Slack channel. Yeah, they will blast you, but it's internal. It's okay.
But I think that's a really good point, Todd. I mean, there's people that are going to hate our branding and love branding that we hate. I mean, that's just truly it. And like you brought up the question, can you meet everybody's like? A good example of that is, Apple is amazing, but there's still crazy people that don't own it and they don't like it and they complain about
take it easy.
So
take it easy.
You can't touch that. Like you're not
No,
supposed
All
to
right,
talk about
listen,
it. You're not
unsacred
supposed to
place.
talk about that.
News team assemble.
Yeah.
Okay, Now, that was kind of my bridge to come back to you. Where do you see, from a marketing, media, advertising, one too many platform, where do you see brands get it wrong? And you can also talk about the ones that are getting it really, really right. And, just kind of give us that perspective of big picture things that you see that you're drawn to or you've seen work and not work.
Okay, so a good example, and let's go to bourbon. I mean, I think that's a fun topic. So 2 examples of 2 places. Both are pretty successful. One of them I thought was a more interesting thing. So Bardstown is a quality bourbon maker. I just saw a nod from a guy out there. He's like, yes, good for you. Bardstown is putting out some really quality product, very expensive product. So we went to Louisville for bourbon tours. My husband's a huge fan. He has a bourbon room. It's embarrassing. By the way, David, thanks for helping us
David
on that
sold
house.
him that room.
Yeah, David, by the way, I'm literally looking at my friends. I will say this, the connection to the people that you are working with, that is my realtor right there. Not this guy, because I don't like him that much. That guy over there, much better. Anyway, so we're in Louisville, and Bardstown has been very busy expanding and growing. And their tour felt like, ugh, you idiots. And they're taking us along, and it's more along the lines of, we're not happy you're here, but we're going to do this with you, and here we go. At the end, I noticed that people were just not very enthusiastic about it. You could tell they hadn't put a ton of attention into that experience. It's kind of what they were talking about. In retrospect, there's Maker's Mark. That is a bourbon that you all picture. It's got the red wax on the top. There's nothing fancy about it. It's not a bourbon that people will wake up in the morning and go, oh, no, that's the bourbon to try. No, Maker's Mark is a solid thing that's been around for a bazillion years. But I will say this, if you take their tour, you drive up and there's a white picket fence. And I kid you not, I feel like they cue these horses to run as you're driving, and you're like, oh my God, would you look at that? It's beautiful. It's rolling hills. And you get there and they go, welcome to Maker's Mark. And they welcome you in. They have designated an entire area just for the tour. You can reach out, put your hand above the hot stuff, whatever, malt mash, whatever nonsense that is. Don't be irritated if I don't know. I went on this stupid tour. So you go and you do this, but you felt welcomed. You felt it was intentional. They really wanted you to be there. And in the end, you can dip your own wax and you can do that. And they're so enthusiastic about it. In the end, I watched people purchasing a lot more Maker's Mark than I would have thought because of the experience of it. So in my book, that is branding and marketing that has been done well, even though it's a smaller product, and they aren't selling as much as Bardstown, which is really funny. But Maker's Mark has been so consistent with their messaging, and more importantly, they know who they are. They know they're not the fanciest bourbon, but they're going to make the experience a little bit better for you. So in terms of things like that, I look at it and I go, that's successful. You've got Walmart right now that has one of the biggest presence in terms of just global everything. They own a lot of stuff. And yet, internally, Walmart is having a very real problem right now because of how they do their business model. You have their own employees that are truly doing GoFundMes as they work at Walmart. And so Walmart right now is in this weird zone of both Walmart, where you go when you want to be, save, I'm going to say on the cheap. But there's nobody that's going to wake up and say, Walmart's a good company. And Walmart has been eroding share on a big level for a long time. And they're trying to change it. They're trying to do more with their social media and stuff like this. But in the end, all you have to do is look at how they're treating their people, and you don't get a great sense about them. If anything, I would expect them to very soon put out, hey, Walmart's changing and we promise we're better, because they may actually have to start addressing that. And so in terms of good marketing versus bad marketing, yeah, Coca-Cola is as good as it gets. But look at the debacle they had with one of their Kardashian kids that came out and did the whole, Black Lives Matter moment where she offered a Coke to a thing. Oh my goodness, that thing they spent millions on that ad and they pulled it within 24 hours because it was a nightmare of PR. So just because they're huge and have the money to do it, doesn't mean they're getting it right. And so I agree with them. You don't necessarily have to chase the big brands. You don't need to watch Coca-Cola. I would actually be watching some of the funnier ads that are local. I would be looking at the social media accounts that you see in your area that are doing really well and go, what are they doing? I watch TikTok. I came to Todd with an idea of wearing chickens on our feet. It's a long story. He still hasn't pulled me up on that. I'm just saying, yo, Robert, where's the chicken idea, buddy? I'm just saying I'm willing to do that. So it's taking
Who
risks.
gets the belt? That's the
You know
question.
what? I'm
That's
just
the-
like, okay. So for me, I've seen it on both sides. I've seen companies do it really well because, again, they're intentional, they're trying, and they back it up behind the scenes. I've seen them do it very poorly.
I want to point something out from nuggets from what everyone has said. To your point on the two different tours, it's an inference. It's a guess, but an educated guess, that one of those companies thinks about the tour as part of their marketing and branding plan, and one doesn't. I'm certain that they think about branding and marketing in other avenues. So here's a somewhat burdensome question. If you're going to commit to improving your branding, where are you going to commit to doing that? And the answer ultimately is everywhere, right? So you're killing it on social media, and then someone actually encounters your product and service and it just doesn't show up. It's not backed up. Or in retail, you're killing it, and then the tour doesn't happen. Or you're great on social media, but your website doesn't line up. So these are the challenges that we talk about in breakouts about design and traffic and things. What do I do with the design of my site when I am trying to build this brand, but I'm also trying to execute conversion, which oftentimes unbranded works better. So there's a lot to value and think through and strategize here, but the big picture discussion is that you can do branding well as a local real estate company. You do not have to play the game of the bigger, better funded, longer established entities, and you get to be and do who you want to be and what you want to do. You can be cool, you can be fun, you can be quirky, and have a blast doing it and be successful.
I think we're in an awesome time because we have access to tools that can get us enormous amount of face time with a lot of people and not have to even pay anything for it. I mean, a lot of these tools are free. So, you just have to be a little bit more creative and intentional and looking for that. But one thing you brought up that I think is really important as well is try to get involved in your community, the communities you serve. That's something that I took away from that Walmart thing is, show people that you're genuinely a good person to the community that you serve. And, we do a couple cool things. We started doing, because we always loved your idea about helping kids in need. And, we started doing a fundraiser in our area for kids that are hungry in our community. And it started very simple. So don't, as Al said earlier, don't cripple yourself with trying to make it perfect. It started off with just, hey, who wants to donate a little bit of money? And then we said, who wants to do that out of each transaction you do? And so we started collecting that money. And then it turned into, hey, we raised a lot of money this year off of just taking off of transactions. Why don't we double that up? And how are we going to do it? Well, we'll take the money we have and we'll say we'll match anybody else's donations to double that money up. So, and then it ended up turning into a Hungry Hippos tournament that was a lot of fun. We thought it was going to be lame, but it was a lot of people showed up and we gave away a free cruise for the prize. And you have a bunch of adults at a micro pub or a beer pub that are playing Hungry Hippos, the game. And these are big guys and competitive girls,
competitive.
and it was crazy. But that's where that comes from. We didn't have the whole idea planned out from the very get-go, and that's what becomes your culture, and that's what people care about, that you're giving back. I mean, we get a call every year from the Polar Plunge because we bring so much energy to that event, and we raise a decent amount of money, but it's not the money we raise that they care about. It's the energy we bring as a group, and we invite our customers to be part of that the experience as well.
So one thing about that, and I want to caution you about that, this is a tricky, tricky zone to be in, all right? So you want to get involved in your community. You want to give. You want to bless. You want to help. Now, when it comes to maybe say, let's go into social. Let's talk about social media, because that's typically where you're going to kind of push that out to. That's a tricky thing to do because the challenge here is you want to do good things and you want people to know, hey, we're doing these things, we're helping people. But how do you do that and not make it look like you're tooting your own horn? Because that's gross and people see that very quickly. If it's you going, here at the Todd Tramonte home selling team, we love blessing kids. Shove a child forward. Look at him. Get him back here. We gave them X amount of dollars. No one's going to care, and they're all probably going to be really kind of off-putting, all right? So what I think and I want to encourage you to do is when you see something, you go, okay, we want to do something. We want to bless somebody. Let's say you go, you know what, we're going to pick a school in close to our office. We're going to pick a grade school, and we want to bless those teachers. All right, your instinct's going to be, we're going to buy coffee, or we're going to take them treats, and we're going to drop them off and get photos. That's great. It's not going to be received as well as you think, okay? What you want to do and what I want to encourage you to do is if you're going to be community-minded and want to give back to the community, make sure you're elevating them. Make sure the focus is on them. So let's say you do want to do something really cool with teachers. Awesome. It could be a little bit of B-roll. B-roll just mean it's nobody's talking, it's just footage, okay? So it could be some of your team going through, grabbing snacks and some really cool stuff because you're making little snack baskets for the teachers. And that's that moment. But then the voiceover, and that could be you, by the way, it doesn't have to be a professional. It could be, here at the Todd Tramonte home selling team, we see you teachers. Man, you guys just are working so hard, so we thought we'd do something about it. It's the teachers, and then what you do is you get the principal on camera. You don't show you giving that blessing. You have the principal talk about her amazing teachers and how much they give to the community. And again, some B-roll of you guys kind of hugging or giving the baskets, whatever, but you let the principal be the star of that moment. Then there's a moment where people see the authenticity of it because you're letting them shine. You're not making it about you. You're making it about, hey, by the way, it's a really easy thing you can do. Bless a teacher today. Give to the X fund that we supported as well. There's a difference there. There's a turn there that you take as opposed to saying, here's what we're doing, as opposed to, look at these amazing people. Don't they deserve our support? Here's what we did. You could do the same thing. It's a wonderful thing to do. You make it about the people. Let those people take that starring moment. Take pictures of the principal, the teachers. Make them the focus of your give, and watch how your social media will start changing to people actually recognizing you guys care in the right way. Make sense? Okay.
Love it. 2 quick thoughts. We teach in some of our marketing course stuff that the social proof marketing is infinitely more effective than your self-aggrandizing, right? And so here sits Bonnie, one of those third-party people that endorses us and talks about what we do so that we don't have to talk about ourselves. She's giving you an on-the-ground example of how you could do this in lots and lots of ways. The other piece of that storytelling element is that the client or the recipient is the hero of the story. And so anytime you tell a story, anytime you talk about a review or anything like that, you're obviously, people are not blind to your part of that story. But it's like, man, Bonnie and her husband were able to get this incredible new home. He's got his own bourbon room now. There's Lego building, there's all kinds of crazy thing happening in this place. They hit the jackpot at the right time in the market before everything took off. We are so excited for them. Congratulations, enjoy your new home. The world is not oblivious to the fact that we were the ones that helped them get that home, right? But they're excited about being like Bonnie, right? So they're the hero of the story, not you. The other thing that you're all reminding me of right now is that in our sales world, and we can mimic this in our branding, people are rarely going to remember what we did for them with specificity. This is really annoying, actually, especially if you sold their house for a ton of money in way less time than normal. 6 months from them, they've kind of forgotten exactly how much over and how much under and how quick and what the inspector said. And this is annoying to some of us, but they're going to remember what?
How you made them feel.
How they felt, how we made them feel. So one of the challenges is, and we'll take one more pass through it, but how do you make your brand make people feel a certain way? Now, Bonnie said it earlier, right? Cue the horses. It made you feel this way, and it made you feel that way. And on the other tour, you felt like they kind of didn't even want you there, right? So how can you make the brand without any interaction, just their interaction with the image, with the experience, with the presentation of your brand, with your office as they drive by, make them feel a certain way? Because that will linger, that will last. And then from a ROI perspective, that will increase conversion, that will increase retention, that will increase lifetime value, profitability, and probably more than anything, the enjoyment you have in what you do. So if you have a clear stated strategy, I'd love to hear it. And if not, kind of try to work it backwards. But how are you trying to make people feel with your specific brand?
Well, I got one thing, and I'll open up to Annie as well. But one thing that we actually got from your training as well, was the welcome box and how that makes someone feel at the right time. And and I don't know if you're going to talk about it later, but
Nah, go ahead.
you can talk about it offline or whatever. But this is just a shock and awe box, basically. You send it, they're not expecting it. It's not going to change your life in any means, but it kind of gives us a chance to tell a little bit more about our story and invite them into our family, basically. And what I found when we started using this, and we're now on our 800th box, believe it or not, which is insane because of how many of these we've sent out. And the reality is we've found a way to be systemized about it, but it doesn't feel that way from the other side as a client. But what I found when we started doing this is when something comes up in the process now, the customer is no longer talking about wanting to terminate their contract. They just want to talk to me about what the situation is and how we can resolve it. And it's totally different. And I feel honestly that's one of the reasons, because they feel like they're part of our family now, and they can communicate with us differently than when they were just a number. So, and there's other things we're doing on top of that too, so those probably all add up together to equal that. But you have to start somewhere, and like I said, with everything, it all gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's all worth doing. But don't try to do it all at once. Just pick one thing in one lane and start there.
You don't need to do all that at once. And Craig makes a key point there. That welcome box is just a shock and awe box, but there's also layers of strategy there. That's exactly why we did it, was to initiate relationship. It's a product we actually sell in we call it 0 to family in 1 day is what we call that product. It's to bridge that gap of like stranger, now client. Not part of the family, part of the family. And it originated from my wife writing a letter to all of our clients to create this welcome box. And in the welcome box, we give them our family spaghetti recipe, which my little bitty Sicilian grandmother would have never given anyone and would be raging mad at me for giving it to anyone. The fact is, we're communicating. In the letter from my wife, it literally says, Todd and his family we call it suka. She says they call it suka. And they don't give this to anyone. But you are now part of the family. Here's the recipe, here's the ingredients, and let us know when you have an opportunity to make it and enjoy it. Yes, that is cute. It's borderline a little too realtor-ish for me. But the strategy there is to build relational trust. It is to connect. It's to bring them in. And Craig makes an excellent point. That's exactly why we did it. When you have a disagreement in your family, there is no like, I'll never see you again option. It's we got to work this out. We're family, right? You have a disagreement with an acquaintance, you're like, I'll be fine if we never see each other ever again. So we're establishing that line of family, mostly because of connection and value and joy and impact. But it definitely helps sales and retention as well. I know you have thoughts on the welcome box, Bonnie, if you want to.
Well, from a customer's perspective, I mean, put aside the fact that I endorse him as a customer. Dave is my realtor. They helped me buy a house. I loved that thing. Like, I loved getting that recipe. I thought it was charming. I thought it was wonderful. I know you think it's a little too real estate. I thought it was charming, and I thought it was a lovely sort of connection to Todd and his family, because that's the way it felt. And maybe it's a banana bread recipe that your grandmother passed along to you. I just think so anything that you can do to make a connection. In my world and what I do, we liken it a lot to I have to be a shotgun. I've got to try to be a pretty consistent type of person for people. And so over the years, trying to be everything to everybody really didn't serve me very well. It's been challenging because for a while they branded me everybody's favorite mom, but if you asked my daughters, they were adamant that that was not the case. And I just started realizing the more I could just be honest about myself, that was going to be a good thing. So for me, it's a pretty consistent moment that I open the microphone and I share a little bit about what's going on in my life, whatever's crazy, good, negative, just what's happening. And then I try to turn it back to somebody else that might be listening and let them know you're not alone. I hear you, I see you, and if you want to talk, I'm here. I will pray with you. I will talk with you, and I actually do answer my phones, which is kind of crazy in this day and age. But it's also realizing that the more you put out there that just says, here, I'm here for you. I'm not perfect, but I'm going to do my darndest to do this with you. People get that, and they recognize that. So for me, getting the recipe did feel like Todd's family was sharing something, and I actually got kind of cranky about it. I was like, I've heard about this recipe. Where is this box?
So you got to buy something, sister. That's how you get that
I was
box.
like, okay. And then towards the end of it was this really sweet thing that David did when we were all said and done. He dropped by the house after we had, sort of moved in and everything. And he did bring Ernest a really nice bottle of bourbon, and Ernest hasn't forgotten that, by the way. He just thought that was one of the sweetest things, that he took a moment to recognize something that we liked. So I think I like the box. I like the welcome box. Anything that you can do, that whatever that gift is, because when it's all said and done, yes, David did help us negotiate $20,000 off our house. What? And that was during the crazy time where houses were going insane. Yes, I remember that because I have to say it in the spots, so it's ingrained in my brain. But I'm telling you, if I wasn't doing that for them, the two things that I would probably remember about our transaction with the Todd Tramonte home selling team would be the bottle of bourbon from David and that crazy recipe that he shared. That was what
You
would
could do
probably
worse
stick
than
with me.
spaghetti and bourbon, people.
Right?
You could do it.
That's a great meal.
Everyone's favorite mom that plays zombie apocalypse
Oh, you have no
horror
idea.
video
Like
games.
that whole persona, I can't. It's what I was kind of saying is, look, nobody can be that person 24/7. My true friends and family understand I'm weird as all giddy up. There's a real sense of strangeness to me. Like the Tramonte
Okay,
team
stop.
will tell
All
you
right,
that
all
it's
right,
in there.
Real quick,
So you can't be everything to anybody. Be your authentic self as most as you can.
we have about 15 minutes, so there's still time. I want to ask you a question and let you think about it a little bit, and then come back to you, and then we'll see where we go from there. We're talking about relationship now. So we've talked about branding. We've obviously hinted at marketing a little bit. We're blurring the lines. Then we talked about culture, but we tied that to branding and talked about how they are sometimes, but not all the times, the same thing. And now we're talking about relationship, which is exactly where I wanted to land the plane a little bit. We can go wherever we have time to go. But I want to ask you both a couple of questions. Let me give you a little teaser. How are you deliberately equating brand to relationship in your business? What are you doing to do that? It could be tactics that people could share. It could be philosophies you have, whatever. So think on that for a bit. And then let me ask you a couple series of questions about relationship, because I think what you do sounds impossible, but it's also fascinating, and it's working in our business. So I've gotten to see it work. So really quickly, for the benefit of everybody here, when you're speaking into your microphone in the afternoons, how many people are you ballpark talking to?
Probably between 650,000 to 900,000 people at any given moment. Just depends on where they're at. If they're driving home, they're trapped with me, poor things. So that's probably
4 hours a day,
4 hours a day,
5 days a week,
5 days a week.
talking to 750,000 people.
Whee!
Now, if you're like, I don't want to get on Facebook, I get you. You're not wrong for that, right? But here's why I'm trying to bridge those two things. How can you build relationship with 750,000 people that have never met you, and 749,900 of them never are going to meet you? How does that even work? And while you're thinking about that, let me share with you that I have an advertising agency that helps the top agents and brokers all over the United States do this. And they said to me, when I was not using that station, not working with Bonnie and John Hudson, who's going to be here later, there is a talent, that's what they call DJ, in your market, that if we can get her, you should move whatever budget you need to have to go work with her. And I honestly, in my experience, had never seen a radio DJ or talent make that much of a difference. I thought it was the station and the audience. So I was like, look, what, do you have like a contract with her? Like, what's the thing? And they're like, no. When we go into a new market for a new agent, we're looking for the talent that has a relationship with their audience. Because then when they go to endorse you, the audience trusts them and will respond. So if you're, we're not getting political, but as an example, if you're super on the left of politics, there's probably someone that you trust, and if they said to you on their radio program, call these people for roofing, you would call them. If you're super right-wing, whatever, and that type of person tells you that you're more likely to trust them, whatever the case is. If it's someone that has the same hobby as you and you have an affinity with them, you're more likely to trust their guidance, whether it's a home inspector or the carpet cleaning company, right? Do they have a relationship with their audience? So how do you do that?
I drink a lot. So
A lot of bourbon talk.
No. So it helps that I have been with the same radio station for 27 years. I've been on KLTY for 27 years. Started a long time ago, and it does help that I have that longevity. It's horrifying how many people will come up to me with their kids in tow that say, I've listened to you since I was a kid. And I go, I'm ancient, but thank you. That's awesome. It's also a very real, intentional way of sharing and being real with people. I never wanted to be perfect. I couldn't pull it off. I don't have the personality that's that way. And I'm one of those people where I say a lot of what's in my head. So sorry about that. I just go. I just talk off the cuff. And it scared a lot of people that I worked with. Originally, they were terrified because I do zero prep work. It's a terrorizing thing for them.
Can I interrupt you for just?
Yeah.
I think that's part of the key.
Yeah, it is.
And you said it earlier, you were trying to be everything for everyone, and then you just kind of stopped being everyone's favorite mom,
Yeah.
and you were just who you are.
Yeah.
Now, it's not as simple as like, just be authentic. And you're like, I don't even
No.
like real estate, but Todd Tramonte paid me to say, like, you can't do that,
No.
right? You're like, I hate Instagram, but I'm trying to sell more houses. Not going to work, okay? Now, if you could be funny about it, maybe, but.
And you could. That's also something you could do. You go, hi, I hate Instagram. I hate every bit of this, but I love this house, and I have to show it to you. There's something there. There is something there. You could take one of your weaknesses and turn it into a strength. You really could use something like that and just go, hi, it's me. I hate everything I'm about to do, but sweet Moses, this house, I have to show it to you. If you approached it in that way, the moment you said that, I went, you could use that. Use your own authentic self. If you're not a bubbly, wake up in the morning, I'm here, and hey, good day. If you're not that person where you're like, all right, I have the coffee. I can show you this thing right now. I'm not a morning person, but for you, I will do this thing. That, to me, all of a sudden becomes very real. And I want to watch that person. I want to see that person. That's being yourself. And all of a sudden, you're making that relationship with somebody. Is it going to hit everybody? Are you going to be everything that everybody wants? No, but there's a better likelihood that they're going to connect with you on that level. And I think over the years, that's how people have connected with me.
Okay, we're going to come to you guys on that question, but I'm going to give you one more question to think about while they're answering this question. And that is, we just talked about authenticity, basically, like be authentically yourself. Now, there's some nuance to a little bit of strategy there, like she said, but people are going to engage with you when you're more authentic. Craig and Ann are quirky, funky, cool, fun people, so that's why it works. If they tried to be like overly buttoned up, excessively formal, it just wouldn't work well because that's not how they roll. Okay, so the question to you then is, even though you're talking to 900,000 or whatever it is of just unbelievably absurd wide variety of people, how do you choose who and what you will talk about? Because I would imagine there are some things you just can't be authentically yourself about, and then maybe we'll try to contextualize that into some of our businesses. But think on that for a second, and then back to you guys on the relationship element of your brand.
Well, I'll start off. I think number one, every single person in here has traveled down a different path to get to exactly where you're at right now. And we all have very, very, very unique things that we've experienced and skill sets and past experience in industry and just life. And your oddity really becomes your commodity. That's the one thing I would write down and take away, that the one thing that does make you unique and valuable to somebody and valuable to a relationship is the things that differ or the things that your makeup is made of. So don't try to mimic another real estate agent or anything. Try to truly find your tribe. Try to find the people that, are your ideal client. I've heard that a lot of times. I think I've heard it from Todd as well. But the reality is find the people that are going to relate to you. So if there's a large enough audience, and let's say you have a vintage Porsche, and there's enough of an audience in your local market that is into vintage Porsches, you can be the vintage Porsche realtor, and tie the two together, and and be that person. In our market, there's one agent that is she's her whole life done horseback riding. There's a name for that. I don't know what it's called. Like equestrian. That's it. And she handles. I would say she handles probably 80 to 90% of the houses that have barns on them in our market, because that buyer knows that she's the one that understands what the horse is going to need and what is a real riding thing and all of that stuff, where the rest of us just are going to fake it and try to be something we're not. So, she knows her lane and she sticks in it. Now, does she sell other stuff? Yeah. People that buy horse farms typically have a ton of money because horses cost a ton of money. So usually she's selling them a waterfront property as well on the lake and everything else. So there is additional business that comes from that. And then guess what? She builds a relationship with those people, and those people have friends and family, and they trust her and they refer her to their friends and family. So you start off with the lane that is authentic. No, that's not the word. Authentic. That's a big word.
That's the one.
Authentic.
It's like 3 syllables.
Equestrianism, authenticity.
But I think that's the reason, we've only heard you talk for a very short time, and I feel like I already know who I'm listening to here, and I'm intrigued to hear her show already, and it's because she's being authentic with everybody in the room.
Anything to add on the brand relationship?
I would just say, personally, for finding your brand, our brand, I feel like it's established. We named a brokerage after our 2 daughters. That's building a relationship right there. We very much lean into that is who we are. We're family. We name the brokerage after family. We treat our agents, our family, our clients, our customers are a family. The people in our neighborhood, our businesses is family. And when you have something like that, you lean into it. That's your relationship. That's your identity. That's your brand. And you have to be comfortable with it. I'm extremely comfortable with it. More comfortable with that than sitting up here and speaking. So I plainly told you this is not who I am. I like to be doing things in the background, but find who you are and lean into it. And that's when you build really authentic relationships coming off of that, because you find your people and the people who trust your brand because you're authentic.
If I could distill that to one phrase, which is overly simplified, but if you'll target and find your people and be willing to turn away, not like angrily, but just not connect with other people, then the relationship part is pretty natural, and you don't have to force relationship.
Can I add one thing to this?
You may.
If you truly want to figure this out very quickly, start a YouTube channel. And the reason I'm going to tell you this is it is incredibly I can't wait to meet Al next year at this conference. I guess he's
especially
not here,
after he's heard Roger. He's going to be a
whole
new Al.
From the outside, it looks very easy, but to get that message, and you learn a lot about how people perceive you when you start doing that YouTube content. You're putting yourself out there, and then on top of it, YouTube's very picky with how the content that the viewers look at. So you think you want to overproduce it when you really want to be very, very authentic to yourself and to the viewer.
You want to be relatable.
Yeah.
And that's what people are looking for on YouTube, is what they can relate to. Because if I want to see something produced, I'm going to just turn on television or Netflix. I go to YouTube to see people like me. And you have to remember that. I think, when creating our videos, we're very conscious. If you go to our YouTube table, oh my God, they're really cringy. And sometimes we are cringy. And you're welcome.
If you go to my YouTube comment section, it's mostly comments that I look
Yeah.
like Rick Moranis.
There you go.
Take it in. Take it in. I did not shrink your freaking kids, dirtbag. All right. For the sake of time, I want you to answer that question however you like, and then we'll try to collectively land this plane. Take a deep breath, people. It wasn't that funny. It's not that funny, Phoenix.
For sure, he looks like Rick Moranis. I've thought it this whole time. I'm just
Not
glad we're
that
all
funny,
on the same
people.
page.
It's not.
Like, I am totally on board with that.
I'm getting new glasses
So
soon.
things that I wouldn't talk about and trying to turn it more to how this would affect you guys. So at one brief moment in my life, I worked for a talk station, and the conversation went to sports, and I don't do sports. It's not my thing. I don't do that. And they were having a baseball conversation, and I said, well, yeah. And I tried to join, and I said, well, yeah, there's this man. Ernest was telling me about it, this King Griffin man. And the person across the table went, who? And I go, King Griffin. He's a baseball player, and he's really popular, and he did something last night. And my co-host goes, do you mean Ken Griffey? And I went, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to go
That's
get some
not
coffee.
what we call them at our house, but
So I learned in a really hard way, sports is not something that I talk about outside of a random go Rangers. That's our baseball team at home, and I'm just glad I actually know who they are. I stay away from that. I don't dive into waters that I'm not comfortable. And if I'm going to dive in, I'm going to make it funny. I'm going to make it really self-depreciating. For what you guys are doing, I agree with what they're trying to say is, look, obviously they're having a ton of fun, and you may be watching them going, that is not me, and that's totally okay. I'm sitting here looking at this lovely woman, and by the way, you are so put together. You are just so gorgeous this morning at this early in the morning. I'm just like, look, if you can see her face, she's just yummy. I'm looking at her going, I don't see you doing van life. I might be wrong. That might not, but I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so not having met you, not having known a lot about you, I could also see that maybe putting together beautiful flower arrangements is something that you would love, that you're all about that kind of thing. And so maybe it's little minor touches that you put into the homes every time, which is, this is a flower arrangement I did just for you, and you start building off of that because you want to surround them with something beautiful that feels like a gift. To me, that would be more along those lines. Maybe you're a Lego person, and by the way, I'm totally a Lego person. If you want to talk, I'll do that. Maybe it's that you leave them a little Lego figure. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's that you talk about Legos because you want everybody to have room, that you're building this with your kids or your grandkids, and you somehow turn that into something that you're doing that connects. Find something that you like and are passionate about. Not everybody is quirky, not everybody's weird. Maybe you're just kind of like, I don't have any of that stuff, but I bet there's something that you like in your life that you truly do enjoy. Maybe it's tacos. Maybe you're passionate about finding the best tacos in your area, and you do a little minor thing about that, and that you love telling your clients about all these great local places that they're about to experience. Don't talk about things you don't know a lot about. I found that out the hard way and in front of a very public way. Do talk about and be that person that you are comfortable with. If you want to talk about your kids, your grandkids, flower arrangements, van life, whatever that looks like, do it authentically. And I know that's a word we bandy about a lot, but you're right. People can suss out the fake stuff. If you're trying to do something you don't know about, oh my goodness, you're going to King Griffin that thing, and it's not going to go well.
King Griffin. And what you've modeled for me as well is you're not just going to do an endorsement for just anybody, right? So you're likely to be promoting yourself or your business, so you're probably pretty confident with that. But if there's something that you're trying or you want to launch, if you're not yet at a point where you're really confident and excited to offer it, then just don't. That's what you select at. That's not yet part of your brand until you're really excited. Like, they're thrilled to represent the names of their children and bring people into their world. And it would warm their heart maybe more if you were into the van life stuff than if you bought just one more house. They would like both, but you know what I mean? Like, when you are so excited about it, and I talk to agents all over the country all the time that are like, hey, what is the best unique selling proposition to get the phone to ring? I'm like, that may not be the right first question, because there's some great stuff you can put out there to get the phone to ring, but when you answer it and you don't actually want to talk about that, there's a serious lack of integrity with that. And you're going to be less effective because you're not fired up about it. So that is literally the time we have.